Good morning, Suzuki Science. So here we are on week 2. Last week we were doing mostly review, getting us caught up to what we had done before the break. This week we are doing something new. It will connect directly with what we have been talking about, however. So we've talked about the evidence for evolution. We've talked about a little bit about the scientists who've contributed to evolutionary knowledge. This week we're going to focus more on the term evolution. So there are 2 versions of this particular lesson. There's the short version, which if you complete in its entirety would probably take you about 3 hours or so. And there's a long version, which gives you more details. Make sure that you have less gaps as you go into grade 12 and beyond the university, because if you do take a bio route in university, you will be going over evolution first year or second year, depending on what university you go to. Now, you have a choice. At the end of this week, we'll have a check-in of some sort. Most of the activities that are, we encourage you to do, we're not assessing them per se. We're not giving a mark. We're just going to say it's complete or incomplete. And at the end of this unit, there'll be a task. And in that task, you will be asked to rely on the knowledge you've gained last week, before the break, this week, and next week. You've actually started on your task already with the Evolution Town Hall. There'll be a few little changes that we'll add to it in order to make sure that we incorporate all the aspects of the assessment categories. So this lesson is called Microevolution. In the Google Classroom, clearly you've been there already because you're watching this video, you'll see several documents. One of the documents is a PowerPoint. One of the links was to the lesson. And one of the links is also to a student worksheet. So this worksheet is what you would open up, download. It is a Google Doc that you get to open up on your own. And you'll complete it on your own or with a partner. I don't mind if you work with another person or 5 people. It really doesn't matter to me as long as you get the learning and you're able to record it. So looking at the lesson here, you'll see that it does say short version. Engage, explore, you'll see some titles, and then it says long version. So basically everything on the sheet is a long version. The short version kind of gives you the minimum of what you should complete to get the basic understanding of the concepts. In addition to this, you'll see a link, a sheet of resources with a bunch of links from a number of websites that Mr. Martin's put together for us. And so you're welcome to use that to also help fill in some of the gaps that might occur because you're not able to ask questions back and forth. Key terms are listed here. These key terms are the terms that you should know by the end of this unit. If you wanted to look up the terminology before you started, that's also a possibility. It might make the lessons more accessible. For those of you who are English is not your first language, then looking at the key terms will definitely help you understand what it is that you need to know. So you'll see the lesson is divided up into several groups. These categories include engage, explore, explain. All the links I referred to in the presentation are listed here. Questions that are relevant to the PowerPoint presentation that as you're working through and you should be able to answer are here. An elaborate section, this is your activity. There are 2 activities you can work on. One of them involves watching a video, doing an anticipation guide, watching the video, and then coming back to the anticipation guide to see if your questions are justified or not supported. And then as you watch the video, there are some questions that are multiple choice and short answer that you can answer to help make sure that you're focusing on the right concepts. And once again, you're welcome to talk, work, collaborate with whoever you want. The second activity is a virtual lab. It's a lizard lab, and you'll be working with this lizard lab for the next 3 weeks as well. So when you go into Lizard Lab, I'll show in a later PowerPoint how to log in with your Google Classroom code, and you're able to save your progress and then come back to it when you're not doing the whole thing at once. In this Google Sheet, you'll notice there's a bunch of yellow highlights. Anything that's yellow highlighted represents information that you can answer directly on the sheet. So there'll be questions that are posed either on the Google Sheet or questions that are posed inside the lesson. The activities, of course, are yellow highlighted because they are meant for you to complete, and they have questions or something you have to calculate that we put on the sheet as well. So this ends up being your notes. It's a frame note. I wouldn't normally do this in class, but since we're not together and we're shortening the learning time and making sure that you have fewer questions, we framed it into this Google Doc. Okay, So I'm going to, and at the very end, as I mentioned on Friday, you're going to have some kind of a check-in. It'll be an attendance piece, and you will be completing a quiz based on the knowledge from this week. And realistically, if you understand the knowledge, you'll get 10 out of 10 on the quiz. I'm going to end this particular part here. This is just the intro. Next, we will have the actual lesson.